welcome back to the Alcohol-Free Rebellion. I'm your host, Adam Calabrese. Today's conversation hit me in a way that very few sobriety memoirs ever have. I recently read Uncorked by Mary Alice Stevens, and I could not put it down. I flew through it, and within minutes of finishing, I was in her DMs on Instagram saying, "Hi, we need to talk." What struck me most about Mary Alice's story is that her last drink wasn't dramatic in the way that we're taught sobriety stories are supposed to be. There was no DUI, no job loss, no public scandal. It was a pool party, Rosé, kids nearby, a husband asking to leave, and a blackout she couldn't ignore. And that's why this conversation is so important, because so many of us don't hit what the world would call rock bottom. We hit an emotional bottom. We wake up and think, I don't want to parent like this. I don't want to feel like this anymore. In this episode, we talk about wine culture, sober avoidance, the witching hour, people pleasing, and what happens when you take away the one coping tool you've relied on since you were 16. We also talk about what sobriety actually looks like long term, not just the first year, but 14 years in. Emotional sobriety, losing friends, growing up in midlife, becoming safe and predictable for your kids. If you've ever wondered whether your drinking counts as a problem, or if you've ever thought, nothing terrible has happened, so maybe I'm fine, I think this episode is going to feel very personal. Let's get into it. Hi, Mary.
Hi.
I'm so happy you're here. Welcome to the Alcohol-Free Rebellion.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. After meeting you on Instagram, I'm like, we are kindred spirits.
Oh my gosh, for sure. Reading your book, Uncorked, I first of all flew through it. I couldn't read it fast enough, but then immediately was like, I need to find you on Instagram and DM you because it was just the most relatable account. And there's been a few memoirs over the years where I'm like, oh, wow, this really hit. But yours, and we're going to get into why, there's so many reasons why it just felt like you were speaking directly to me. I just related to it so much, and I just couldn't wait to get you on the podcast.
That's exactly what I was hoping for when I wrote it. So thank you so much.
For sure. And so to get into it a little bit, because we want to talk about the book, we're not going to give away too much because we want everybody to read it if they haven't already. But the book starts with your last drink, and then it kind of goes back through your first year of sobriety. And there's, little jumps to, when you were drinking and kind of explaining how we got to where we are. But that last drink, can you set the scene for what that was? Because this was pretty much right from the start. I was like, we were very, very similar.
Yes, I remember it clear as a bell. I live near the wine country in Northern California. And a friend of mine had a little pool party, and it was a daytime party. I had my kids with me who were 4 and 5 and my husband. And I was just so excited to get there. I was like, okay, my husband can handle the kids. I just want to get my giant glass of rosé and lie in the pool and have fun with my friends. And I was well served that day. My friend's partner kept refilling my glass, and I would just like hold up my hand from the pool and get a refill. I had told my husband, like, hey, would you mind driving home? I would like to have a couple. And he was okay, but as long as we can leave at 4:30 because it's a Sunday and I need my chill night at home. And I'm like, okay. So 4:30 comes around and he's like, okay, we need to go. And I'm like, whatever, secretly like pour myself another glass of wine. And then finally he's like, we got to go. You're wasted. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And then he used our code word, which was ranunculus. With my first husband, it was train wreck, but I'm like, okay, with this husband, I need a nicer code word. So note to self, if you have to have code words, you might have a problem. Right. So I got out of the pool and I like tripped over an ottoman and he was really annoyed. And I'm like, okay, you get the kids in the car. I'll gather our stuff and we'll go. And I said that because I wanted to secretly slam another glass of wine. And as I was doing it, like literally tipping it up and dribbling down my chin, I was like, Mary, this is kind of desperate, And then we drove home and I blacked out on the drive home. And I don't remember anything the rest of the night. I woke up the next morning like, oh my gosh, I'd never blacked out in front of my kids before. So I didn't know who fed them, who brushed their teeth, who put them to bed, who bathed them. I could have done it in a blackout. I just didn't know. And that thought really rattled me. And also my husband wasn't in bed next to me for the first time. we've had arguments in the past about my drinking, and I was always very defensive, but he'd never slept in the guest room before. So I kind of just said to myself, like, is this the moment? Is this the moment where I have to quit before anything tragic happens? Because we had a pool at our house, and I just had this fear of like, what if I'm unsafe with my kids around the pool? And just in general, like, what if they got hurt and I had to drive them to the ER, but I was over the limit and, all these scenarios came. And I was 45 when that happened. And over the years, I had been saying to myself, like, okay, do I have it under control? You're not drinking a bottle of wine a night on the weekdays, so you're good. Or your job is fine, so you're good. Nothing tragic has happened. You don't have a DUI. You're good. But it wasn't good. And so I hit my emotional bottom that next morning and was just like, it's exhausting. I cannot apologize to my husband again. I can't do this. And I don't want to be that kind of a parent. So I decided to quit. And I said this quick prayer, like, God, please help me quit. And I remember before, like, I would never say that prayer because I didn't want to quit.
Yeah.
But this time I'm like, I need reinforcements. I did that. I called my friend Katie, who was in AA, and I'm like, all right, I think I'm finally ready. And we went to a meeting that day. So
Oh my
and I
gosh.
haven't had a drink since. And that was
It's
14 years ago.
it's incredible. And why I think it's so incredible is because I feel like for a lot of us, this is how it happens. A lot of times you'll hear the horror stories and these awful, tragic things that happen. And of course, my heart goes out to everyone that experiences that. But it's this in between that I think is really tricky and what I'm so passionate about getting the message out to. Because your kind of bottoming out is almost identical to mine, except it wasn't at a pool. It was a Halloween kind of get together in our
Oh my
neighborhood.
gosh, Halloween. Such a
Halloween.
drinker's holiday.
Oh my gosh, walking around with the coffee mugs full of whatever. And yeah, and it was my son was 5 and I had never experienced blacking out in front of him. And I did. And thank God
My
I wasn't
gosh.
driving, but I made it
Yeah.
home and same thing, woke up the next day like, what happened? And it was just this like, no one was telling me this is it. You're going to rehab. There wasn't a DUI. There wasn't anything like that. It was me. I hit that place where I'm like, no, like this is not how I'm going to parent. This is not up to my standard. Everything in me did not want to quit, but it was almost like that moment was like, it's done. Like I can't do that anymore.
Yeah. I have 2 questions. One is, what was your husband's like? Was he mad at you after Halloween?
No, and this was the craziest thing. Like he just was very much like, you're safe, everything's fine. Like the most he would really ever do was like, well, just try because he's a normie. So he would be like, well, just try to like, and there is no trying to hold back. Like, are
Just
you
have a
kidding
glass of
me?
water between drinks.
Please, like, come on. Like, I've tried. You tell me any type of moderation you're trying to do, and I've tried it, right? And
Yeah.
it's like, never, never, not once, ever, ever, ever did I ever want to black out. Like, even in my craziest partying days in like New York City and like dancing on bars, like you name it, I never wanted to black out. It scared the shit out of me. So it was like, this isn't something I'm doing because I want to do that. Like,
Right.
it felt like it felt really out of control. And like you were saying, like I wasn't getting DUIs, I wasn't losing my job. I like everything on the surface was holding it together, but internally I was in turmoil over like, I can't figure this out. Like I can't
That's
figure
it. It's the
right?
internal part of it that is soul crushing.
Yes.
It's funny that the term now sober curious is so popular. I was sober avoidant. Like I would do anything to not have to quit drinking.
I know. I was hostile about dry January. I mean, I am so I have to really watch it because I'm like, now obviously I'm in such a different spot, but I remember how I felt about it. So I'm like, I'm not
Did you
getting
ever do
through.
it?
No. Are you
I
kidding
know.
me? No. Especially after like being pregnant and having to go through whatever,
Yeah.
9, 10 months, like that felt like I'm like, I've done my due. Like I've paid my dues here. But I remember my husband's friend was doing it. And I'm like, why would you do that? Like I was that person. Like I just couldn't understand. And there was so much that I was avoiding. Like I never dove into like what alcohol really is and how it really impacts your body and your brain. And
Same.
Never. If
I
I
was
even
like, "La, la, 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 la."
same. Like, I wouldn't even click on that article. I would whatever, I'd find anything to not see it because I didn't wanna see it, because I knew I was using it and I needed it for a million things, like socially and to get through the witching hour, which again is another thing that I just related to
Yes.
so much in your book because it put this, like, protective coating over me because I would get
Yeah.
so overstimulated with the
Emotional
kids.
latex.
Oh my gosh. And so it just kind of like created this barrier where I was like, okay, I can handle this. And then I was just borrowing from the next day because then you wake up the next day like heavy and
Well, I'm
foggy.
sure also you felt because you were a career woman, or as was I, and I had my kids late when I was 40, and it was such a, like, culture shock to go
No.
from such a high pressured, but also fun and collaborative work environment with happy hours after, to being this stay-at-home mom with 2 little tyrants, at that witching
Yes.
hour, and you're
Yes.
like, I deserve this glass of wine. This is the only thing tethering me to me right now. This is the only thing that feels normal to me because how did I get here?
100%. I mean, my life was like fast paced, living in New York, going out multiple nights a week. Like, it wasn't always some crazy thing either. Like, there were plenty of nights where it was a couple drinks and go home or
Yeah,
whatever.
but
You
it
know,
softened the edges and
yes.
transitioned you into that relaxation mode.
Totally, and it felt right, and it felt like me, like, it wasn't like I was constantly battling this. It really was, like, in motherhood, I feel like this shift of, like, now I'm in the suburbs, still struggling with that, by the way, and then
Same, same.
right? I'm like, "Oh, where are the people?" Like, everything
Mayberry.
closes early, big time, right?
I literally live in Mayberry, I'm telling you.
Oh my gosh, I
Okay, that's
know.
not the right use of literary. I live in a town like Mayberry.
I got it. But yeah, it was just really hard, and so I feel like the alcohol gave me access a little bit to that, like, carefree, a little bit more
Yeah.
relaxed, a little bit softer 'cause
Sophisticated, which is such a joke because how
yes.
sophisticated are you when you're wasted
My gosh,
and
and then
hungover?
reminds me of another thing, I literally was, like, underlining these things. You were referencing the types of wine, like, you were in the market and saw the wine, you were talking about, like, La Crema and
Yeah.
or La Crema, I forget how you pronounce it
Yep.
even, which is a good thing, and I was like, "Same." I thought it was so sophisticated. I thought how I was drinking, "This can't be problematic because my bottles of wine cost XYZ," or my cocktails in New York were like, I just had this like, picture of what it was, and it was so glamorized, and
I think wine is that slippery slope for women because it's not a bottle of vodka that you're sipping on in the morning. I mean, maybe you are, but slipping it into your orange juice or whatever, and you feel like the wine doesn't count. Like for me, I was like, this is in a different category. This is not in the alcoholic category.
same exact thing, and that's exactly how I felt too, and it's been so normalized in social settings and TV, pop culture, like, everything that I've seen, like, it really didn't occur to me, and this is I grew up with an alcoholic mother, and it was wine, but it was, like, boxed wine, and this is how, like,
Interesting.
specific the nuance gets because I was like, "Well, I'm not doing that." Like, that
Yeah.
and it's like, well, you it's just
It's that
packaged
justifying, right?
it's
You go to
justifying.
any lengths to justify that your drinking is not problematic.
I know. Until you're finally faced with like, okay, I can't do this anymore. But then it's like, now what do I do? And so I find it really interesting. So do you think if it weren't for your friend Katie, would you have gone the AA route? Like, did you know anything about it or what allowed you to kind of take that path?
That's a good question. I think I would have, and I have a very odd reason for saying why. I went to Weight Watchers because I couldn't lose those 10 pounds of post baby weight. And I felt like kind of a fraud being in Weight Watchers because I only had 10 pounds to lose and there were other really seriously overweight women in there. So, but I love that camaraderie and that support and that accountability. And so when I was thinking about AA, I'm like, well, that support group model really worked for me. So I think I need that. I certainly can't do it on my own. I used to give up drinking for Lent. Like maybe I tried it a couple times, but I would get 3 weeks in, and then I'd like, I'm going to Mexico, overseas rules. I
Right,
can drink in
right.
Mexico. You have to drink in Mexico. So I knew I needed support. And in 2011, when I quit, I wasn't on social media. And I don't know that that would have been enough. I think I needed to put my butt in a chair and listen, physically remove myself from my home and listen to what other people had to say.
Totally. I mean, I feel like it's a whole different world now. I mean, from your perspective, actually, I would love to hear, like, even in the past 2 years, this like surge of alcohol free, sober curious, all of these non alc kind of options that are flooding the market. Like, what have been your thoughts on that?
I am so grateful for it because I mean, you can take your sobriety for granted at a certain point and think you don't have to pay attention to it and nurture it anymore, which is the place I had gotten into. And then once I started listening to sober podcasts and cluing into sober influencers on Instagram, I just felt that calm come over me again that I found in the AA meetings. This being understood and accepted and instantly connecting with people, like before you even meet them, because you know you speak a common language that other people don't understand if they don't have a problem with alcohol. They can be sympathetic, but they don't get it.
I know. That's how, I mean, I'm not just saying this. That's how I felt reading your book. Like it had been a while when early on. So I didn't go the AA route mainly because I was scared. I can just say that. I was just too scared. And so I did everything through following accounts on Instagram, listening to sobriety podcasts, reading memoirs. Like I was just all in, but I was really, really lonely. And so I always say if I could go back, I think I would do it a little bit differently, especially if my physical symptoms were pretty severe too. And so it's like, why wouldn't I give myself that support? But I couldn't get there mentally. It was just like, I just had to do it on my own.
Like
But it's,
physical symptoms, I remember being super tired.
oh,
What were
yes.
your physical symptoms?
I was like sweating a lot, like through the sheets every night, like
Oh,
really, really bad. I was like shaking, very shaky,
yeah,
very, very irritable, so
yeah.
exhausted. Like, I mean, I just was like
Raw.
sleeping all the time.
Yeah, I remember
So
having
raw.
really raw nerves and I felt more present, which was what I wanted, but I also had to sit with all those huge emotions that I had been numbing since I was 16. I was really ill-equipped to understand how to deal with unpleasant emotions.
I didn't even understand them, which is might be hard for someone to understand it if they haven't gone through this, but the only tool in my toolbox was alcohol. Like and that it worked for a very long time.
For
But
everything.
for everything, for being overstimulated, for celebrating, for grief, for boredom, for you name it. That's what I went to and it worked. And so I didn't develop all of these other tools to deal with emotions or to even understand them. Like I didn't realize like I might have anxiety. I'm not anxiety. I am not an anxious
Right,
person. I
right.
have anxiety and like this is what's happening right now and it'll come and it'll go and I wasn't present enough to witness my emotions and feelings and different things that were happening. I just drank through them and then I was hungover and recovering from that. And so I wasn't noticing how life was unfolding really in my own kind of emotions and feelings.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember early in my sobriety, I saw my therapist who I hadn't seen in a long time. And I was like, I don't even know who I am without alcohol. And I don't know how to deal with these emotions. And she was so helpful. And she said, just witness the emotion objectively without judgment and zoom out and kind of look and notice and say, okay, I'm feeling sad or frustrated or lonely or upset. And just be with it. Don't have to fix it. Don't have to do anything. Just be with it. And just that like visually zooming out of the problem, I was like, "Oh my gosh, how come I never knew this before? This is awesome."
Had a very similar kind of, I don't know, like awakening of, and it almost felt like a zoom out. And it's like the emotions and everything are kind of coming in front of me, but I'm back here. And so it's like these things are happening, but like Abby back here, it's still me. And these things are going to come and go. And it was a very similar realization where like, I've never thought of that before. But once you witness that and see, like, okay, for instance, socializing, I'm a very social, outgoing person, but I need a lot of time to recover from pretty much any social interaction. And it's just not something I ever even knew about myself. Like I would just say, oh, yeah, she's like really bubbly and outgoing and everything. it like really depletes me. And so now I
Yeah.
know a little bit better of how to like take care of myself and like, okay, if we're going to do that, I'm going to need a little time to regroup and alone time. It literally like recharges my battery. But if you don't ever take the time to notice that or witness it, it's like you don't really even know how to take care of yourself.
Right. And also, I remember when I was newly sober thinking, I'm so boring. I'm so boring. And then I heard somebody reframe this for me. And in the moments where you're feeling boring, look around. Is it that you're at a party that is now boring because you're not drinking? I mean, I just learned that a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so true. Parties are boring, and that's why people drink so much.
Right. Cause you're just standing around and it's like,
Yeah, making small talk with people that you may never meet again. And so I now give myself more grace in those situations. And I can attend a party for a shorter amount of time. And I'm just psyched to like get home, jump in my jammies, put on a show, get my dog next to me. And I'm like, okay, I don't feel boring. I feel happy.
exactly. And it's like finding that right balance of all of it, right? Because like too
Yeah.
much time, solo, then you crave a little bit of that. I want to get dressed. I want to go out for a little bit, whatever. But it's just, I think, understanding that threshold and like the parties, I feel like I put on such a pedestal. And I was like, this is my time to perform. This is my time to do all. And it's just like, it doesn't have to be that way. And like, even if that was how it was for the first almost 40 years of my life, that doesn't mean how it needs to go moving forward. And just having that realization that like you can change and you can like you're not set in stone. And I feel like you really did a
Right.
good job of explaining that through like fun Mary, sober Mary, like kind of that dichotomy between those two versions.
Right. And I think I find myself now having fewer, longer conversations rather than feeling like I need to smatter the room, say hello to everybody, meet everybody, and then have a bunch of 30-second conversations. That's who I was when I was drinking because I really didn't care about anybody else. I was just drinking and then really enjoying the drinking. And then I would drink too much and it would all go down.
Right. Exactly. I was the same. And I really didn't care. Like, I feel like that's something I've had to like realize. Like, in those things, I wasn't connecting with people. Like, in my situation, I was just like a dancer. I mean, I still am a dancer, but like in those situations, I just wanted to dance. I don't care if anybody else was dancing. I was going to dance. Everyone called it my phone booth. I'd be in my phone booth dancing, and I was just like, "I'm good." Like, that's you know what I mean? Because that was just all I wanted to do. And so, yeah, it's just funny to, like, look back on it with a different lens and kinda see it for what it was.
And to still like I think that's the surprising thing to me about sobriety is before I did it, I thought, I'm gonna quit drinking. It's gonna be horrible, the end. But the reality was I quit drinking. It was tough. I stuck it through. Things got better. But you keep learning more about yourself and about how to live life. And I think that's why the podcasts and the sober influences and the quit lit memoirs are so good because you keep learning more and learning more about yourself and personal development. And now you don't have alcohol as this big barrier to personal development. And I've had a lot of catching up to do, but I'm enjoying it.
I know. I feel like through the book, we follow you that first year of sobriety, but what has it looked like since? Because you're how many years? 14?
14.
So, I mean, what would you say are like the big milestones along the way? Like once you hit 5 year, once you hit 10 year, like what are the big realizations or what would someone have to look forward to kind of further along on this journey?
Right. So I kept hearing this term emotional sobriety. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Sobriety is sobriety. You're either drinking or you're not drinking. But emotional sobriety, and because I worked the 12-step program, that was kind of a way, that was my education into learning what my resentments were. These are triggers for drinking and looking at patterns I've developed that were unhealthy for dealing with situations. So just kind of unlearning a lot of bad behavior along the way. And then slowing down and taking stock of how I'm feeling in moments. There was one, that same therapist. I got a lot out of that one therapy session.
I know I
But
love a good therapist.
she was like, I'm like, I don't even know who I am. And she's like, this is what you do. You notice things that you like and you say, okay, I want more of this. And then you notice things or people or places that you don't like and you go, okay, I need less of that. But really tuning in to what I was feeling instead of numbing it was a good guide for me. but that required really slowing down because my old modus operandi was just stay as busy as you possibly can. And if you're alone, be sure you have the TV on or music on so you don't have to hear that critical thinking in your head. But now, after I quit drinking, that critical thinking really quieted down. But I needed to learn how to cope with being patient as a mom, and I was a producer, television producer for so long. And my problem was I was always about efficiency. And then, this parenting expert said, put connection over efficiency. So
Mm.
that was a real learning curve for me, which I think was good for my life in general is things don't have to be perfect. Like the house doesn't have to be clean. The meal doesn't have to be perfectly nutritious. Slow down and play with your kids when they're little. That's what they want. And I was like forcing myself, slow down, take 15 minutes, play with kids, But back to your question about how things evolve, I think I just became more open, more of an open sponge to learn, to find resources that were helpful, to read about the psychology of alcohol and start choosing my friends a little more carefully. Lost a couple friends along the way, choosing how I spent my time and energy and reconnecting with who I was before drinking, which okay, I was 16 when I started drinking, and I used to be a real athlete, but I fell off that wall in Ireland when I was 23 after drinking and I have a crushed heel. So it's difficult for me I couldn't go back to who I was. So I had to become a new me. But one thing that really rang true was getting out into nature. And we live near open space. And so just hiking, smelling the trees and the eucalyptus and getting sunshine on my face was so important. And I know you hear that a lot, but it's for a good reason, What else?
The friends thing is really interesting to me because if you think I'm about 2 years in, I just passed 2 years, and it's tricky, and it's tricky, I think, with moms because I'm picturing just me a little over 2 years ago. If someone was like, "Oh, I don't drink," and not only that, I don't drink, but I have an Instagram all about not drinking, and I'm like
Right.
alcohol free Abby. What people are like, "Go away."
Right. Right. I know. So they think you're like social suicide, right?
Big time. I literally use that phrase all over the place. And so it's like, I don't wanna overcompensate for it and be like, "I'm cool with the drinking, don't worry about it." It's a hard path to walk, and it's like, I
Yeah.
just try to give people space, and I'm like, "Look, if this is making you feel weird, like, you don't have to come near me." Like, I don't say that, obviously, but I'm like,
Right.
I'm not
Right.
gonna try to force anything. Did you experience that? I feel like you.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
really did. I really felt like, but because I led with alcohol, everybody who knew me knew that, I was the mom who hosted the wine happy hour play dates. And
same.
I was serving champagne at my son's 5th birthday, and my work friends, even though I had quit working, I had had a number of jobs and stayed in touch with all my friends, and we always got together over cocktails. So, I mean, it was I think it was way more difficult for me than for them, for me to come out to them. But I learned that embracing honesty is important. You have to be in a safe space to do it. You have to feel like you're in a with trusted people. But the more you do it, I'm not saying you have to give them your whole life story,
I
but the
mean, I
people that you've
basically
known.
do,
Right, right. But, like,
but
if you're
yeah.
at a party and somebody offers
Yeah.
you a drink, you don't have to be like, "I got sober 3 weeks ago, and I'm
No.
barely hanging on here, so get that away from me." But you wind up getting a little more calloused about the reactions and the expressions, and there were a couple of friends where I told them it was a mom friend, and I had moved to the burbs to become a breeder, so I had to make a new set of mom friends, and alcohol was the quick get to know you trick. But when I told them, I really didn't get a supportive reaction. It was more like, "You're fine. You don't drink any more than we do." And I was like, "What?
This
That
is the
doesn't
one.
feel good."
I can picture this scene of the book. This is at the, like, Mexican.
Yes,
Right?
restaurant. Yeah.
See, that's why this stuck so much with me because this is an exact scene, and for anyone listening, these are mom friends. They had, always kinda drinking together, going to different lunches and different things, and so now they're all at this, like, counter service, like, Mexican restaurant, that way you don't have to go through the whole alcohol ordering thing.
Yeah.
But they're basically telling you, like, "Well, you didn't drink more than we did," like, kind of insinuating that maybe you're being a little bit, like, too much with this, right?
Like my husband was being too controlling or something. And the tricky part was it's not like that friendship could just break up and disappear. Our kids were friends, and every year they remained close friends. And I'm like, okay, this is the year. Okay, they're moving from elementary to middle school. Maybe they're moving from middle school to high school, maybe different sports, maybe any no. And
Yeah.
they live close by. So this person has been in my life and I keep feeling like, okay, I'm supposed to be learning a lesson from this, but I haven't figured it out yet. But
I know.
yeah, and then just being gentle with yourself. Like, you're not going to handle every situation perfectly. You're not going to feel great about every situation. And that's okay. That's life. It's not something that you have to drink over. And that's a win.
I know. There's so many realizations around the feelings, the emotions, but one of them also is that, like, not every single person on planet Earth is going to like Abby. And that's been a hard one to think. Like, I just was on this mission to be like, oh no, I
Yeah.
can make everybody like me. What do you
Yeah.
like? I can be that. You like this? I can do more like that. I can be a little bit quieter. I can be loud. And it was
Same.
exhausting.
Total people pleaser.
My gosh. And in all of that, I couldn't even tell you who I liked. Like, you go back
I
through,
know.
right?
I
Each
was so focused on getting them to like me. I'm like, wait a minute. Do I even like them? Are they worth my time?
still couldn't tell you. I'll like take little moments to just kind of sit and think about stuff, which I never allowed myself to do before. I would close it off. Like, I would be like, I kind of want to think back to that like situation in college that was a little bit weird. And my brain would be like, nope, nope, can't. And it would just be like either like have a drink or like distract myself or something like that. But now I like let myself, if I'm driving or I'm out for a walk or something, I'm like, no, I'm going to think through this in a little bit of a different lens now. But so much of it, I'm like, Ab, I don't even know that you would have liked that person. Like, you felt so rejected by them,
Yeah.
but like, I don't know that that's who you would choose to be around definitely not at this point. But even then, I think it was just so focused on being accepted and fitting in and all of
Which is
that.
why we drank in the first place, right? And then to still have that people pleasing personality without the alcohol as your assist, that takes work and time. And that's what I mean about sobriety is it takes time, but it's a good journey. You'll only benefit from that kind of exploration.
Absolutely. And I think what gets a little bit tricky there is through that, you're growing like the whole time. You're learning about yourself, you're learning about all kinds of different things.
You're growing if you put the effort into it. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I kind of like once I hit my 1 year mark, I'm like, okay, I'm good. And then I think I stopped growing. I think I wanted to put it in the rearview mirror and stop thinking about alcohol and alcoholism all the time. And I wanted to be like, okay, enough. Let's think about other stuff. But I wasn't giving myself that nurturing of continuing to learn and educate myself, not just about alcohol, but about personal development. And the hits keep coming, right? Like, I lost both of my parents. I realized that people were having parties and not inviting me, and then you get through them and you're so proud of yourself that you've managed to get through them without alcohol. And I don't know, it's a very interesting life shift that I'm so grateful that I was able to make happen.
I feel like I was working with a trainer and she was kind of explaining to me, like, you kind of have to tear the muscle to build it. And like that, it's like this constant. And that's what this feels like to me. It feels like there are
Yeah.
some really hard moments, and most of them are like social for me, like really cut me to the core. Being not included or like picking up on someone just feeling like I'm annoying or like not fitting in. Like, it hurts like I'm in middle school,
Yeah.
but it doesn't stay like that. And like now being sober and being able to witness that like peak, and it's like, oh my gosh. And then it's like, oh no, that comes down. So when it happens again, I'm like, we've been here. I've been through this. Like, this is not going to stay like this. And now I'm learning what helps me through that. Right. So I'm like, I know when I go to yoga or if I like call certain people and talk about it or talk to my husband about it and just vent it out or go for a walk with my dog, like each of these little things just make it a little bit easier to get through that like peak of really like hard
Yeah.
stuff. Right.
Yeah, and then you'll realize who are the better people to talk to. Sometimes you talk to somebody and it's just them using that as a launch pad to talk about themselves, and you're like, I don't feel any better after bearing my soul to you. And then there are other people who really dig in with you, especially other people who are sober, who get it. And you do feel really rejuvenated after speaking with them.
Yeah. But it's just, getting understanding it's not all going to be, because I think a lot of people are like, oh, I'll get sober. And then like a lot of these issues are just going to go away. It's like some for sure, but it's also all this other stuff that you've been kind of putting off to the side with the drinking that now you're dealing with.
Right. I would say the number one thing that goes away is shame.
Yes.
Because once you quit drinking, you give yourself more grace about your other frailties, like everybody's going to make mom mistakes. Everybody's going to make, bad choices with family events or friendships, but you're going to give yourself more grace. So you've got a huge win there. You're going to feel proud and content. You got another huge win there. But then you are going to have to navigate situations that are challenging and probably slow down and think about them like you never used to, because if you made a mistake before, you probably just drink until it felt numb. Um, but I think for me anyway, I didn't think safe and predictable were words that I ever would want to achieve in my life. But especially as a mom, those are two of the best words you could possibly attributes your kids would want from you. And I think that has been such a gift. And knowing that I've been able to do that makes me so proud. It makes my husband so happy that like that carries a lot of weight and that helps you through the tough times.
Absolutely. And kind of leaning on that. Because that's when you say safe, that's actually what I think of, because there was always this feeling of, I don't know what drunk Abby's gonna do. Like, usually she doesn't do anything too bad, but like sometimes she does stuff that I would never do. And it kind of felt like I was like handing the keys over to someone like so chaotic and so different from who I genuinely am. And I was just like, we'll see how this goes. And it's like that has completely been taken off the table. So even when bad things happen, it's me handling it. It's not some like version of me that I don't know
Right.
what they're going to do. It's me. Like I'm going to be able to get through this or talk or use my tools and different
And we are
people.
intrinsically good people.
Yes.
Alcohol derailed us, but we're intrinsically good people and all people are flawed. I think um, knowing that just it builds on itself. And it's funny, when my kids are 18 and 19 now, they're in college, but when they were 4 and 5 when I got sober. And because I had quit my job the year before, I had all this energy. So I'm like, oh, I'll just volunteer for the PTA. And then I wound up running the PTA. And that was such a difficult situation because school events have so much alcohol related, all the fundraisers. And I wound up sneaking non-alcoholic drinks into events
I mean, the irony is ridiculous, but I
when I
completely
used to
understand.
sneak alcohol into events
I
just
know.
so I knew I had something that I wanted to drink, you
I know.
know?
Yep. They make like little things that you can pour into even club soda. So it makes it like a little, margarita or something like that.
Yeah.
Because it's just
Yeah.
like, I don't want to drink soda all night and I want to feel like I have like a nice cocktail too. I know exactly what you mean. And it is like all the school events are very alcohol heavy. And so it's just like, okay, like, how are we going to navigate this? And I mean, one of the events last year, we took a party bus, like a bunch of the parents were on a party bus to the fundraiser. It's just like,
Yeah.
we didn't take the party bus home. You know what I mean? It was just like, okay, well, we'll take an Uber back to our car or whatever. Cause it was a lot, but it's like, okay, I know that now. And then kind of preparing for that next time and how I'm going to get through that. But again, I would much rather try to navigate that situation than waking up in a complete shame spiral over what I said at this fundraiser and how was I dancing? Was I
Right.
being inappropriate with like the
Right.
nuns that were there? Like I would have been crazy, right? It's like pick your hard and it's like no question which one I'm
I
picking.
have a friend who I worked with for a long time, and he called me inappropriate Mary because there were so many work functions where I would get drunk and just make an ass out of
Yeah,
myself.
same.
So I still manage to be inappropriate sometimes, but at least I can own it.
I can own it. It's on my terms. I remember it. It's like I'm always like saying something crazy or what. That's just my personality. Like I'm like out there. I will say stuff. I'm like whatever. But it's like no, that's literally me. Where I think the shame came in was like first of all, I wouldn't necessarily remember clearly or at
Right.
all, and two, that didn't feel like me. Like even when people were like, "Oh my gosh, you were so much fun last night." That didn't feel good. Like, it felt like, well, okay, so that version of me you think is really fun? Like, because it felt so different than who I really am.
Right, right.
It was like it was a hard thing to kinda come to terms with.
And who you are keeps evolving. And that's my lesson. I am happy and surprised that it just, and now I'm 60, so I'm evolving again anyway. Um, I'm a new empty nester, and it's just nice to know that I don't have that stupid alcohol crutch to deal with anymore.
I know.
Life is big enough without adding that complication to it.
'Cause I've heard that's another big trigger point because you get so used to and I think what we went through was a big trigger point of going from, like, professional working city life
Yes.
to suburbs mom stuck in baby jail, and it's like, "Whoa, big transition." I think a lot of people struggle, but I think this is another one where it's like, okay, the kids are in college now, and you're kinda like, "Well, what's going on here?" And I think a lot of people kinda go through this whole kinda journey at that stage too.
Right, right. And I also think, I don't know if you have the same experience, but along with my alcoholism, I call it alcoholism. I know some people don't, whatever you want to call it. I also have kind of an obsessive compulsive personality. And I would kind of really worry excessively about my kids. This is sober, right? Worry excessively about the safety of my kids. And I would be like checking life 3 and making sure they were okay. And learning how to cope with that personality. I also had substitute addictions at the beginning, like a little shopping addiction and sugar
That's so
addiction.
common. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I gave myself some grace around those and they were fairly temporary. So, I think that you do have work to do after you quit drinking, but there's so many great resources now, you know? I just think that it's a great time to get sober if you can get over your sober avoidance
I
patterns.
know. I know, and that's what all the NA so I post a lot on Instagram, use like all the NA drinks that are out. I just love like I'm someone that'll have 3 drinks in front of me pretty much at all times. Like I just drink a lot of beverages. I don't know. And so
I just got a new car after driving a minivan for 16 years, and the
nice.
one thing I don't like is there's only 2 drink holders, and I'm
Oh,
like, I always leave the house with 3, a smoothie, a tea, and a water, and I'm
right?
like, "I can't. How do I drive this car?"
I know. I have 3 all the time. Like, it's just that's, like, the good number for me, even at restaurants. Like, in New York, I feel like the tables are so small. I'm like, "Are they gonna be able to fit all my drinks?" Like, I
A
need
separate table just for your drinks.
just for my drinks, yeah. So I love that all these NA beverages are coming out because they have such complex flavors and different ways that you can mix them together, and I make these videos because it's like, you can still have, like, a nice, good tasting drink
Yeah.
that doesn't have alcohol in it, I think
Well,
I
and for
really
me, it's about the stemmed glass. Like, I
yes.
always ask, my go-to is cranberry and soda with a lime in a large wine glass
Yes,
or stemmed glass, if I remember to say that. I try to take the word wine out of it, but sometimes the waiters look at me like, "What?" And I'm like, "A
I
wine
know.
glass,"
Glass, just a big
because I
wine glass.
still want that. There's something
Yes,
about this that feels sophisticated.
yes, and the ritual of it and something different. Like, I feel like it helps my brain switch into like, "Oh, now this is like fun time, relaxing time, like a special occasion or something like that."
Right.
And, I think it's just so nice to have all these different options that you can have now that obviously don't have the alcohol included. Well, amazing. This was so nice, Mary. I mean, I feel like I knew reading the book, I was like, I know we'll have a great conversation because you're very
I
similar.
know I could just keep talking forever, but I'm like, what else do people need to hear? But
Hi.
I love your podcast, and I think it's such a great resource for people.
Thank you. I know. Well, I'm very passionate about it because it's changed my life so much
Yeah.
for the better. And I can tell it has for you as well. And thank you so much for sharing your story in the book, Uncorked. Where can people find it? Because they're going to want to read it right away, I'm sure.
If anybody's watching, this is what it looks like. Uncorked, a
Okay.
memoir of letting go and starting over. You can get it on Amazon. You can also ask for it at your local bookstores. And I would love it. And if you like it, do a review on Amazon or Goodreads would make me super happy. Thank you. That way more people can find out about it.
Absolutely. And I'm going to put all those links to purchase the book, to go to your website, and also to leave a review right in the show notes. So you guys can all do that.
Well, I'm glad to see that we are living examples of you can have fun sober.
Yes, I know. Thank goodness, because I really was doubtful, and now I'm like,
Me
amazing.
too.
Okay, we're good.
I thought my life was over. I really did.
It was like the best surprise of my
That's
life
the
that that's
trickery
not
of
true.
alcohol, though. It gets in your head and makes you think that it's the bomb. It's the thing that you need to
No,
be happy and successful.
I know. Well, we'll keep talking to make sure people know that that's not true. So thank
Well,
you
thanks a
again.
million, Abby. It was great chatting with you. I could talk to you forever.
I know. Same. All right. Until next time.
Okay,
All
thanks.
right. Bye.
Bye.